Bienvenido a la Biblioteca del Vikingo. Why is my background different? Why do I have a dog? And why am I speaking Spanish? Well, it's because I'm joined by... Yay! So I am so happy to be collaborating with Isa in Spain. I mean, that is absolutely insane. And obviously we have EU as well. She's so cute. And today we're going to talk about, since we're booktubers, about some books we think are worth the hype according to Booktube, and some books that we think that booktubers tend to overhype a bit. But firstly, we also recorded another video for Funfantasybooks channel where we talk about some underhyped fantasy books. So make sure to go and check it out. I'll leave a link in the description down below. But we will start this video talking about 10 books we think are worth the hype according to Booktube. And the first one is, and I think we both agree on this one.
Yeah.
The Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee. Absolutely brilliant urban fantasy.
It is fantastic. I did not expect to love it as much as I did. I heard everywhere, this is like The Godfather, but just better, and it actually is.
It is the definition of fresh fantasy. So if you're looking for something that feels new and innovative, has really good family drama and politics, definitely check out The Jade City. But if you watch Booktube, you've seen this book everywhere, so let's move on.
The next book will be The Dandelion Dynasty, which, surprise, but it's here. We love it. We both started reading The Dandelion Dynasty this year and we're both loving it so much.
Just the scale, and again, I know I just said about J City, but this also feels fresh, it feels different, and just the pure ambitiousness of the story is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I think Ken Liu, he could have written a 10-book series just about the story in Grace of Kings. It's incredible. So it might be a bit hard for some to get into because it's very dense, like a lot of information is thrown at you.
Especially book one.
Especially book one. I think book two gets a bit more character driven.
Agreed.
But yeah, again, if you're looking for something fresh, something different that has a epic scale in storytelling, check out The Dandelion Dynasty. And the third book, we don't have a physical copy, is one of my favorite reads of last year, and that is Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch. One of my all-time favorite book, and Murphy Napier, she definitely has hyped this book up, but I think in this case, I totally agree with her. I think just the heist element is brilliant. The prose is just so good, and so a bit similar to The Mistborn. If you enjoy like a disjointed, a good heist where like a crew comes together, where a lot of problematic characters are in, and they're trying to pull off the impossible, then this book is definitely like a book worth checking out. Well,
However, let's acknowledge that it is very hard to get into this book. There are constant back and forth to the story. When you are about to get to a point in which there's like this peak moment, then you're just thrown to the past, and it's a little bit jarring to read.
It is, yeah. But if you enjoy like good politics, a riveting heist element, and also even though it's part of a series, I would argue you can read it as a standalone.
Agreed,
so it is brilliant. Please just check out the book. I love it so much.
The next one that we have here, it's one of my favorite authors, and that is Project Hail Mary. Absolutely brilliant. It has everything that you wanted from The Martian, and it just makes it better. The premise is fascinating, and it just is optimism at its best with a story that is just so emotional.
And Rocky, one of the best characters I've ever come across in sci-fi. I don't even want to spoil it. Just read this book. It is everything just brilliant, and I don't often say this, but this book has one of the best conclusions I've come across at a book as well. It's just so emotional. Pacing is breakneck, and it's truly a masterpiece in my opinion. And I agree with you. Martian is good, but this is better.
Agreed. Just hands.
Jazz hands. And the next book is a book that I don't think you have read, have you?
I haven't.
But it is Assassin's Apprentice, the first book in the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. Now, I am a huge fan of Robin Hobb. I read 9 of her books. I love Fitz as a character, and I know some people say Assassin's Apprentice is not the best starting point, but it's a relatively short book, and I thought it was just brilliant. I connected with Fitz as the protagonist straight away. It has great relationships, and it has some really great pets. I mean, maybe not as good as this one, but yeah, if you love pets, then definitely check out the Farseer trilogy.
Yeah. Another great book that we absolutely adore, it's Babel by Arif Kwan. This is the same author as The Poppy War, and I believe she has this unique ability to craft stories that have such intensity, like raw emotions, anger, and in this case, it's dark academia.
I have never read a fantasy book set in our setting that analyzes translation and colonialism in the 18th century in Britain.
Yeah, it's
so it's all this specific, but it works, and I know it's a minor thing, but I always love when you have standalones in the fantasy genre because they're so rare. So yeah, if you enjoy a fantasy dark academia novel, Babel is definitely the way to go.
Definitely.
Alright, the next one we definitely think is worth the hype according to Booktube, and obviously we had to include a Brando Sando book in this one. And this is a Spanish cover. It's quite interesting. I think the UK and the US covers are definitely the US covers are better, but it's definitely interesting. So yeah, Stormlight Archive. It's the magnus opus of the Cosmere. It is absolutely brilliant. This is The Way of Kings.
Way of Kings.
Yeah, so The Way of Kings, in my opinion, is great. Words of Radiance is even better. So if you're looking for a vivid, lush, epic fantasy world, check out the Stormlight Archive.
I think the best thing that you will find here is not only that the world, it's massive, it's very accessible, and that the magic, it progresses, it's very unique, but also how Sanderson characterizes the characters. Every one of them, it's broken in a way. Like the mental illnesses here is like a theme, and I loved it. I think it's brilliant character work.
And one thing I always say about Stormlight, I've only read the first 2 books yet. I will read the 3rd one this year. But yeah, it blows me away how many epic character moments there are in both book 1 and 2. There are literally so many scenes where you almost feel the need to just stand up and cheer.
Yeah.
And I just always love when a fantasy books has those moments. And I think Stormlight Archive is like almost known for having lots of those. Whoa, this is incredible.
The sound launchers in Stormlight are epic. Seriously epic.
So brilliant.
Another book that we feel it's right now gaining even more momentum, it's Red Rising. This is so unique, very emotional as well. There's a premise that it's mind-blowing. Each book just progresses in a way that you will not expect. It is very, very, very plot-driven. It's savage. And I just loved it.
So I've actually very recently read this one and the whole original trilogy. So I need to make a video about the whole trilogy. I haven't read book 4, 5, and 6 yet.
Same.
I think Red Rising is the weakest book I've read so far in the series.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's, I had actually quite a lot of issues with this one, but book 2 and 3, so Golden Sun and Morning Star, are a considerable step up. So if you're looking for character-driven sci-fi stories, then this one is definitely character-driven, and it reminds me of reminds me of The Faithful and the Fallen in a lot of ways, because it is just breakneck pace, a lot of plot twists, and a lot of character deaths and so on. So the next one that is worth the hype according to Booktube is also a book that Isa hasn't read, but it's one of my favorites, The Invisible Life by Ada LaRue. So if you're looking again for a standalone that has a very interesting take on immortality and blessings and curses, and what I've just found so riveting with this one is that it takes place across 2 timelines, one set in the 18th century or 19th century and one set in our modern time. So you go back and forth between these 2 timelines that are literally 200 years apart. It just works brilliantly. It's very beautiful written, and I really related to the protagonist. So yeah, definitely worth checking out In This Life of Ada LaRue.
I definitely think that B. Schwab, it's worth the hype. I don't know if it's the same with this book, but I found her style to be very unique because she always has this very creepy but beautiful stories, and in a way that seems really just unique, very spooky, but you know, unique. A book that it's not great, but it's epic and it's very, very, very deserving. The hype.
It's everywhere on Booktube.
Yes, and it's deserved. Sword of Kagan.
Yeah.
This is a standalone as well. It is very different, I feel, not only because it is very character driven, but because, well, you see it if you start it, but the peak of the story, it just kind of happens at the end, at the middle of the book. So you still have lots of things still to discover here. It blends elemental magic, family drama. It needs to navigate very complicated family situations.
Yeah, I thought it was just brilliant. When I read it, I didn't know it was originally self-published. Which is even more mind-blowing because it hasn't gone through the whole process. It is just beautifully written, and as you said, the climax is at the 50% mark here, and the analysis of grief, loss, depression, and so on is just beautifully done. So I think it's worth the hype for sure. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It's one of my favorite fantasy standalones.
Never cried as much with the book.
Oh well, really? I didn't cry, but it was good.
Because he's a robot.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed this video and got some inspiration to read more books. Now, if you want to support me in any way, then you can check out my Patreon. I have different tiers and you will get different benefits depending on what tier you support. Some of the benefits include getting your name in my videos, voting rights on my next feed, getting a special role on my Discord server, getting access to one Patreon exclusive video a month, or even art cards and bookmarks signed by my wife and me. Most of the money goes to hiring an editor to do a couple of videos for me a month, which basically allows me to post high quality content more frequently. But yeah, thank you so much for watching and God bless.